Hello and welcome to another episode of Boxing TV. We bring the fighters to the fans. Coming up on today's show, the amazing and heartbreaking story of world champion Jamel Herring. Stay tuned. A massive welcome to my next guest, and honestly, one of the most inspirational men and sad and happy career and life so far. There's got to be a film about you, Jamel. There's going to have to be a movie about your life. But what a career. And like I say, the reason why I wanted to bring you onto the show is the UK now, you've jumped onto the scene. You've jumped onto the European and the UK scene, especially with the beatdown of Cole Frampton for the world title only a short time ago. But people know of you, but they don't know of you. You know, they don't know about your story. Right. They don't know who you are. They don't kind of know. And that's the reason we do this. So what we do here is something a little bit different than just the boring kind of pre-fight interviews that you do a million of them and ask the same question 1,000 times. We like to know really the person behind the gloves and what makes you tick. Okay. So what a fighter you are. I mean, incredible career so far, 23 wins and 2 losses as a professional. World super featherweight champion. What a career. What a career. And there's so many good things I hear in the news that you've been commenting about very, very recently. But let's start really from the very, very beginning. So tell us a little bit about kind of where you grew up, what you were like as a kid.
Okay. Well, I grew up back in New York. I'm a New Yorker. So, but I was really into sports at a very young age. But boxing was not the first sport. Boxing actually was the last sport I was ever going to think about even doing. But the funny thing is, what happened was I used to play basketball a lot, and I had made my I think it was high school junior varsity basketball team. But then I couldn't play because I had at that time I had poor academics, and you know, being from New York is not easy, especially depending on what neighborhood you grow up in. It's not easy. So I wanted just to stay away from the streets and things of that nature. So I had a friend that pretty much invited me to the gym, but at first I was kind of hesitant because I was like, yeah, I don't want to get hit, and you know, and then I always think about, you know, when you're a kid. You think about like the Rocky movies. So I'm like, man, I want to get hit like that. Like, but then, so I thought, yeah, I was always a fan of the sport. But I was like, man, like I was looking at it from a different perspective though, also. But you know, I went down there, and it just one of those things I just stuck with it. You know, it was just something that I fell in love with, and on top of that, boxing it's not a seasonal sport. It's all year round.
Yeah.
So that's what I really liked about it, because you know I could stay with it and stay active all year round as long as I possibly want. So you know I just stuck with it. But yeah, growing up, I had a lot of friends that was like doing all types of other crazy stuff, and you know I look at boxing as like my way of you know, my gateway of getting away from all, you know, that type of lifestyle and that madness.
I mean, it can be. I want to ask you a question directly, really, because you're from New York, and I think it doesn't matter where you are in the world. I mean, it's similar with London for the UK, or there's always some places that, you know, can really kick off. But how easy is it in New York? I'm going on the movies here. Do you know what I mean? I'm watching things like Power and stuff like that. But how easy is it for you to fall into, let's say, the wrong thing, criminally, really?
It's real easy because, like I said, I've seen friends that were on basically the same path as me, like even with going into boxing and sports, but it just takes that one bad influence to get in your ear.
Yeah.
It can just easily just pull you into that type of lifestyle. Like, I mean, I can't even tell you how many friends I either got that are, you know, are dead or just locked up in, you know, in prison somewhere. So it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, like I said, just thinking about it, I'm like, man, like I really like dodged a few bullets, I may say. You know what I mean? And even just like, you know, just sometimes even associating yourself can put you in a
Yeah.
bad light. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's rough. I mean, but it's also what basically molded me into who I am now because after seeing those things and dealing with those type of life lessons, like it just made sure like to have that good conscience on my shoulder to keep me away from all that type of stuff.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there's going to be many things that kind of I'm going to speak to you about today that when I heard of it and when I did the research on what you've done, it hit me like a ton of bricks, so I can't even begin to even consider the way that the things you've had to go through, mate.
Yeah.
I've got to give you respect to still be here. Do you know that I'm being serious? To still be on this planet after what you've been through. But heartbreak kind of started a little bit early with you, with a good friend of yours called Stefan.
Yeah.
Tell us, because I know about it, but tell the audience a little bit about what happened there.
He was my more than my best friend. He was like a big brother. He
Yeah.
was a year older than me, and we grew up like we used to live across the street from each other growing up as kids. And he was actually one of the few friends that stayed away from like all that crazy lifestyle. And I guess that's why we easily clicked. So we did a lot of the same things. Like we was into sports, we was into computers and games and stuff like that. Just being a regular, just being regular kids at the time. And
Yeah.
I never forget when he graduated high school. He was talking about entering the Marine Corps. And at that time, I didn't like I wasn't even thinking about military life at all. If anything, I was still just focusing on the sport of boxing and moving up in the amateur rankings. But when he came back from boot camp, he kind of like sat me down. He was like, "Hey man, what do you want to do with your life? This can really you can really go places by joining the military."
Okay.
So with that being said, I trusted his word. I joined in 2003 was when I joined because I graduated high school that same year. And like by the summertime, I was already getting ready for boot camp.
Okay.
And I joined, and it was a life changing experience. But tragically, a year later, after I joined, is when he had passed away from cancer. So that really hit me hard because, like I said, this is somebody that you could basically say pretty much saved my life and put
Yeah.
me in the right direction. I don't think if I didn't join the Marine Corps, I don't know if I would be here today, even as a world champion.
Yeah,
So
you could have been one
I
of them, couldn't you? To take that
yeah,
slight. My dad always called it kind of like a fork in the road, kind of which path you're gonna. Do you know what I mean? It just takes that slight
right.
movement, and you're onto a different path. But he was only 20, wasn't he? When he died, if I
Yeah,
remember.
He's only 20 years old, and he died of lung cancer. And this is a guy who never smoked a day in his life, and it was like so when we got the news, it was like man, it kind of
Yeah.
and it hit us hard, and like I felt just so defeated because I didn't know like in my family, I'm the oldest, but when I had Stephen around, he was like my big brother that I can
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
to. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so so when I didn't have that anymore, it was like who do I go to? And I was just kind of just defeated. Even now, I still think about his memory, and how just the good times of us when we was growing up, and the jokes we played and stuff like that. So I was still thinking about him today, but yeah, it was a rough time. It was rough.
Yeah. I mean, I've got to say, I mean, I've got a similar friend who I was with growing all. I'm still friends with him to this day, and I love him like I love my brother. Do you know what I mean? I can,
Right, right.
I thank God he's still with us. 'Cause I couldn't even imagine what that must do to you. For grow up and then something like that happen. And like I say, never smoked in his life or anything like that, and getting cancer. God, how long is it going to be until we get someone sort this cancer thing? There's billions and billions and billions of dollars and billions of pounds. There's got to be something soon, haven't there? Some kind of breakthrough that we
Hopefully,
can get
I
past.
mean,
So
I'm
fingers.
hopefully.
Bless you, bless you. So yeah, you said about the Marines, which I want to thank you. I know you might not have been in the Marines for me, as you're not my countryman, but still, thanks for your services. You're doing great things. I
Thank
mean,
you.
it's over in Iraq, I know we had boys out there. So tell us a little bit about that then. So I mean, kind of where you were based, kind of what was it like in Iraq?
Iraq it was hell. It was hell, but it was I was based out of I was based out of Camp Lejeune in North Carolina. But Iraq was a real wake up call for me. And at the time I was only 19 years old during my first deployment. I
Right.
was still a kid. I was still a kid, and I didn't like people have different views how they look at war. But for me, I look at it as a wake up call in terms of like never allowing to take things for granted in life. I wasn't
Yeah.
there to to play like a movie betrayal or anything like that. Like I mean, I was like I remember like just being happy when I came back from Iraq just to see regular grass and stuff like that. Because like everywhere out there it was just sand. It was just sand,
Right.
and I never experienced a sandstorm in New York. So that was a that was a whole different experience. But
Mm.
like I said, I lost friends over there as well, and it just makes you wonder at times like why am I still here? Like there must be a special purpose because that could have been me out
Yeah.
there who got hit or injured or worse. So like that I think it just basically matured me more than anything. Like I said, I was still a
Okay.
teenager, I was still a kid. So I would say Iraq just kind of like made me grow up a little bit more faster. I'm just glad that I got back home in one piece, and here we are today.
Yeah. And you were right in thinking you were a gunner then on the Humvees. Um, is that right? I'm right in thinking that on the trucks you were a gunner on top. Is that right?
Yeah. I was a gun. I was a gunner. In my especially in my no in my second deployment back in '07,
Okay.
and it's crazy. At that time, I was expecting my first son, which I named Stephen after my best friend. So you gotta
Wow.
you
The,
gotta
the the guy the
imagine.
guy who lost his life.
Yeah, yep. And I
Wow.
named I named my oldest son after him. So I was expecting my first son, and now I got more stuff on my mind, now I got more responsibilities and things and more to look forward to getting
Yeah.
back home to America. So, but yeah, by that time, I think it was even worse. Like we was dealing with a lot of roadside bombings and getting hit with mortar round explosives and things of that nature. So, and I was a gunner and during the all these convoys. So it was definitely a whole different experience. But I think I had more motivation of getting back home because, like I was saying, I was
Yeah.
expecting my first son. So that was my like I think that's when I also and during that deployment I started thinking more about the people that care for me than instead of being a selfish person.
Yeah. Absolutely. And to be honest, I've well, a lot more respect for you anyway, considering the fact that a lot of my family were forces. My dad was a gunner in the Falklands War in the Navy. My brother was a helicopter engineer. My best friend's a sniper in the army now. So I've got so much respect for you.
Oh
I
yeah,
really,
much
really
much
have.
much respect.
Yeah,
I got
absolutely.
respect for him as well.
Definitely. Absolutely. And one of the hardest things, and which my dad to this day never even talks about to me, but kind of is losing friends and losing,
Mhm.
comrades, people who have got you back. I mean, is this something that you witnessed out there? To tell us a little bit of kind of maybe of an experience you had.
Oh yeah. I had a Marine out there. He was basically a EOD technician. Basically, what that is like the bomb squad, pretty much, in
Okay.
simplest term. And he was giving us a class basically on what to look out for. And I never forget, like literally, we were just this is a guy we were just speaking with, and I think like a week later he was gone. He got killed by an explosion. And this is around, like I said, around this time also, it kind of messed me up because, like I pointed out, I was expecting my first son, and
Yeah.
at that time he had a 2 week-year-old son back in the States, and that he never got to meet, because he lost his life over there in Iraq, and it's like one of the things like man, if that could happen to him, that could happen to
Yeah.
anybody else. It doesn't matter who you are, what you got going on at home,
Yeah.
and you got newborns, kids, whatever. You gotta look at everything as like man, every day waking up is a blessing. Every day,
Yeah.
every day you come back home unscathed is a blessing.
So
So yeah.
yeah, and following this, and this is something that you hear so much, and it's not spoken about enough, in my opinion. You suffered with PTSD, didn't you? With after
Yep.
that, which is for the people post-traumatic stress disorder. Kind of you get it from traumatic events. I mean, how did this affect you following your deployment?
Um, man, after the deployment, it really like I think the deployment is pretty much the start of it because a lot of people don't know, back in later on, I think like 2 years later, um, in 2009, I was expecting, my first daughter,
Huh.
and my daughter was 2 months old, and she passed away from SIDS. So, I mean, like I said, I think like the PTSD, it all starts with those events, but then like when more and more things had hit me in my lifetime, I think that's when I really started to feel it, like started to feel the effects of like just like deep depression and like at one point in time I didn't even want to box anymore. I didn't want to do anything, especially when you lose a
Yeah,
child. I mean, that's probably the worst feeling in the world. So
mate.
yeah, like like even now. I can say that like my PTSD even still hits me when it comes to my kids,
Yeah,
because as a parent you never want it's like one of those things you try your hardest to make sure that you'll protect your children
yeah,
in any way. So when that happens, now it's like you're even going crazier trying to prevent it from happening again. So you're just like always worrying where they're at, what they're doing, if they're
yeah.
safe, and so those things, kind of lay on me even now with all my kids. I don't like it could be 18, 19 years old in the future, but I'm still gonna be that parent always worrying about if they're safe out there or not, but well, my daughter's situation, if you look at my all my ring attire, my trunks, I always have her name stitched on my trunks, and then it's just a reminder for me of why I'm fighting and who I'm fighting for. And I turn pretty much a negative situation to a positive. And what I mean by that is when I think about my daughter's memory, I always look at her as my guardian angel. So I always
Yeah.
and that's why she like her memory keeps me on the right path. Because I always say, well, if she was here, would she approve of me doing this, or how would she look at me doing that?
Yeah,
So I'm like,
yeah.
you know what? No.
Like a god,
So
like say,
yeah,
like a
and that's how
guardian angel kind of thing, like a higher. I
exactly.
like that.
Yeah,
That's cool. It's a positive
exactly.
way.
So that's how I keep her memory alive,
Yeah,
and when I'm in the ring, I think about just my family in general as well, and I just enjoy every day that I'm here, and I try to make the most of my situation, and even now, even like I always give credit to like guys like Tyson Fury. When Tyson Fury
yeah,
had shared his stories about depression, I'm like, this is because I mean this is a guy heavyweight champion of the world at the time, so you think he's living his best life and he's on a high right now, but he just wasn't happy, and that just goes to show you that we're all human. It doesn't like materialistic things in life doesn't necessarily make you happy or even better than anyone out there.
yeah,
So, but I respect Tyson for coming out and sharing his story about the things that he went through because it gave me the courage as well to go out and share my stories and then go get help, with PTSD and depression and things of that nature because I felt myself going down similar pathways that he was doing. Just wasn't taking care of myself, wasn't even caring about myself in general at times. So, but when Tyson shared his story, it definitely helped. It definitely helped, and it made me go out there and wanted to share my story as well
yeah.
to help others in the down the road.
More people should talk about it. And it's funny you said that. I mean, as far as Tyson Fury, it's of course Tyson Fury Wilder too. I was actually the last person to interview Tyson ahead of the fight in the international press conference, and everybody else gave the boring kind of how are you going to do in the fight? How's preparation gone? And I
Right,
and I
right.
and I actually asked him. I was the last person to speak to him, and I said, what advice can you give to people out there with mental health? It was weird you said that, but and he was saying how you got to just get up and get help and keep
Yeah,
fighting, which is pretty amazing. Good on you for that. So just kind of rewinding, really, I want to kind of with your daughter Ariana.
right.
So how old was she when she passed?
She was 2 months, 2 months old. She was still a newborn.
I don't really want you to replay this so much because I'm sure it's still really upsetting for you and really upsetting for your family. But what actually happened? Because this terrifies me. I've just
Yeah.
had a little girl. She's 8 weeks old, and
Congrats,
thank
congratulations.
you, thank you so much. And she's beautiful. Her name's Lily. And when I was watching and did the research of what you were doing, I was saying, oh my god, and my wife was downstairs saying, what's up, and I was like, just talk us through. I mean, what happened? If you don't mind me asking, if you don't want to talk about, it, it's
I don't
fine.
mind.
But
I don't mind. No,
oh,
I don't mind. I don't mind. I
talk us
no.
through.
I remember. I just remember, coming home one night, and like I thought she was just, she's typical. Your child sleeps at night, so she was just in her crib, and I never forget her mother went to go check on her, and then I just heard like this terrifying scream that I probably will never ever forget. For obvious reasons, of course.
Yeah,
But her mother was just screaming, and like she wasn't like saying she wasn't responding, wasn't responding. So I remember I went to go get her, and I actually try to, I try to give her, CPR and everything, and she just wasn't responding. So at the time, just like, yo,
mate.
just call the paramedics, and they came, they got her, but we when we found out at the hospital, she was gone. So that's that like that was by far probably one of the worst days of my life.
Yeah,
Like I remember the whole scenario and everything with the family being around,
yeah.
and we all getting just the bad news from the doctor walking out, and it was just crazy. But
And
you
SIDS
know,
isn't SIDS sudden infant death syndrome? I'm right in
yep,
thinking, yeah.
yep, yep,
And it happens as
yes,
this. It's a lot. It happens a lot, doesn't it? There's a huge amount of babies that die from this.
yeah,
Uh,
and it's funny because like
yeah,
up to that point, I knew nothing really about SIDS, and then when you
yeah,
start doing your research on it, and like you said, you find out that it happens a lot. But
yeah.
God forbid, like I said, God forbid, and like I said, I'll be praying for you and your family as well. But like God forbid, like
Bless you.
it doesn't happen, because it's crazy. I don't like. Technically I got hit twice with that because a few years later, my brother had the same scenario. My brother, and I never forget, my niece Trinity. Her name was Trinity,
So
and she
she
had
lost the life from it too.
my
Oh my
brother's daughter,
god.
my brother's daughter, and yeah. So it was like, man, it was like I can't. It was like I felt like I just can't get away from these nightmares
Yeah.
that I'm in life. So, but you know, I think I actually, from my experience though, I helped him,
Okay.
get
Yeah.
through
Yeah.
the rough patches and the speed bumps. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, but it still sucked though that I had to experience that again in the family. But God, my brother's been dealing with it well.
Yeah.
God bless. But yeah, it's just one of those scary incidents.
Absolutely. And then in the positive side of things, you really got yourself together and you captained the USA boxing team at the 2012 Olympics. I mean that,
Yeah.
mate, congratulations. I mean
Thank you.
that from where you've come from and the stuff you've had to go through to lead your country at an Olympic event must be something you're very, very, very proud of. But am I right in thinking it was also on the anniversary? But what was that? I can't remember fully.
The
But
the 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 opening ceremony was the anniversary of when my daughter passed away. It's like
wow, so a
was it
happy but
3 years,
sad.
3 years to the day. Yeah. So I never forget when we're all walking out there with all the other countries. I never We'll get to the stadium, and I remember just looking up at the sky, and I was just saying, this is for you. I'm here. I'm here. I'm here because of you. Because I didn't want her. In her memory, I wasn't going to be a quitter because I could have easily given up on everything. So
Yeah,
you know, I I had to pick myself up, and she was one of my main motivations for me picking myself up and just getting my life together. And if it wasn't for you know that lesson in those moments, I probably wouldn't be, or wouldn't even be at the Olympics, let alone an Olympic team captain. So
Yeah.
it is funny how just like how things play out in life, and it's like I feel like you take it as a you could take it as a heartbreaking loss, or you can use those experiences in life and turn them into lessons. And I
Yeah.
try to turn everything that I've gone through into a lesson, or to something where I can help other people out, and get them through those rough patches in their own way, in their own lives.
Definitely. And you then went on. I mean, much happened. A lot happened since then. But 7 years later, on what would have been Ariana's 10th birthday, you became a world champion on
Yes.
that day. I mean, mate, how did that make you feel? To be, especially considering the circumstances, how did that make you feel?
Best feeling, in the world. Even just now thinking about it, great, one of the greatest feelings. Like that right there was pretty much the icing on the cake. I felt like if I didn't do anything else after that, I would have been fine with my story. Just ending, well, at least in boxing, ending right there, because remind you, I had, even in my career, I had bumps in the road, and they thought I wasn't gonna make it to the top. They thought I wasn't gonna ever become a world champion, let alone they thought I would never even get a shot at a world title. So, but again, I always think about her memory and
Yeah.
not give it up on myself. And like I said, my sons and my daughters now, they're here with me today. They look up to me. Like I always say, I don't really care much for like the fame,
Hmm.
as long as I know that I'm living right and I'm doing right by those who look up to me. And
Yeah.
obviously, my children look up to me. So I always put them first before anything, and it's my family in general. So I mean, so when I went in on her birthday, I mean, you seen all the emotions. They just hit me from all the years of everything that I had to go through, from you know um it being on also Memorial Day weekend, which is an American holiday for the military, but in
Wow.
memory of those we lost. So if, like I said, my best friend Stephen, he was a Marine as well, and that was a victory for him. Memorial Day weekend,
Wow.
my daughter's birthday. So like, yeah, like like two of the most important people in my life that I had lost,
Yeah.
that in the past, was like that was my gift to them.
I can definitely see why you see them as your guardian angels. I really can. It's almost like they've had this kind of constant reminder, haven't it? All these big times and these big things that have been happening, they've always been overlooking it. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. I really like that. Really, really like that. So you defended your title 3 times, and then sorry to skip, but he's from Ireland, he's my neck of the woods. So and you then fought Cole Frampton, and I to be honest, I'm happy because you won. You made me win quite a lot of money because I thought you were going to stop him. So I just saw the size of you and the size of him, and I was thinking, Jamal, he's massive, and Frampton's only little. So did you think that kind of going into this fight? Did you think the same? I mean, did you know that the size difference was going to be a big factor in this fight?
I know it would play a part in the fight, but I didn't really look so much as being a big factor, because I always remember telling myself that we like, this is boxing. We seen bigger guys fight little guys in the past. Like, man, just look at the things that Manny Pacquiao was doing
Yeah.
even today. So I really couldn't really bank on the size, and I also kept reminding myself that where I beat Carl Frampton at in size, he beats me with experience.
Uh
And
huh.
this is a man that's been 3-time world champion, two weight classes, and he was going, and his motivation was to win a world championship in the third weight class. So when you think of like, if when you're a fighter and you think of stuff like that as motivation, you gotta be wary about what you're up against. Because like I said, if he gave up the impression that he was going to go out there and get this title by any means. So
Yeah.
I had to be sharp. I had to be sharp. I had to be smart throughout the fight, and even better throughout the build-up, because remember, I was just coming off the Okendo fight after fighting COVID, and it wasn't my greatest performance, and people thought less of me at the time then. So I knew I felt like my back was pressed against the wall. So I wasn't so much thinking like, oh, I'm just a big guy, I'm gonna knock this guy out. I was thinking like, this just could be probably one of the toughest tests of my career
Yeah.
if I don't play it right. So I was probably just honestly surprised as anyone else. But like I knew I had the power, and but I just felt like I thought it would be a longer.
Down
It'll
the stretch.
take
Yeah.
into play down the stretch.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you mention Jamel Herring right now, it seems like everyone is talking about Shaka Stevenson.
Right.
Is this a fight that we're going to see?
It looks like it. And honestly, if I'm being honest, it does look like a fight that we'll probably see. It's just a matter of when. I know, as you've seen, because due to the Fury Wilder situation, the schedules kind of get pushed back, or
Yeah.
or mixed around a bit. So we're just waiting. We're just basically waiting on Top Rank, and I know MTK is doing their job handling everything behind the scenes with the fight. But it doesn't look like a fight is going to happen. I'm just hoping that it happens in, I would say, late October, early November. And I would say, I'm saying early November because again, the rematch got pushed for on Free Wilder. That got pushed into October, and if you look at it, October is pretty much packed.
Yeah.
We're expecting the return of my stablemate Terrence Crawford to come back around that same time as well. So you gotta look at things like that and be like, okay, let's see where I fit at in that month. If not, I'll just be in the beginning of November. But that's the time frame I'm looking to get back in the ring.
And which leads perfectly onto my next question. So you mentioned Terence Crawford. For me, is one of the best, probably top 3 pound for pound fighters in the world right now. And I know you've done quite a lot of work, haven't you, with Bud, and you've been doing quite a lot of sparring with him. Almost undermines you, but I don't mean it to be, because iron sharpens iron, as far as I'm concerned. But what's it like? With him, do you feel like you take a lot from him? You learn a lot from Terence Crawford?
Oh, of course. I mean, just look at my career since I started working and training alongside Terence Crawford. Like I've probably been at the best, than I ever been before then. So, I mean, and Bud is a true he's a true gent. He's more than just a fighter. He's like I consider him like a brother.
Okay.
And when we're training, there's no egos. There's no egos involved. Like if I have a fight coming up, he's there to motivate me. He's not there to steal the spotlight or try to, you know, put this persona on that he's the top guy in the gym. Like no, he if anything, he's probably a lot more annoying because he's always on my back. He's always on my back. But I needed that, especially with the Frampton fight camp going on. He was with me a lot during that camp, sparring and helping everything. People was looking at me crazy, like, why are you sparring Terence Crawford when Carl Frampton is half his size? I'm like, it's not about for me, it wasn't about the size. It was about me using the opportunity to soak up that knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
And I told myself, if I can hang in the gym and with sparring with a guy like Terence Crawford, then I know I can hang with a guy like Carl Frampton. So
You
you
can
have
do
to
anything.
exactly, yeah, exactly. It's like people have to remind themselves at the time boxing is more mental than physical.
Yeah.
So if you believe in yourself before the fight, before the first bell, it kind of makes the fight a little bit more easier on yourself, at least mentally, when you get in that ring. So yeah, Terrence has always been a great help, and even when he was getting ready to fight Kell Brook, I came down to his camp and I was pushing him and motivating him, and I was getting out there, with him while he was doing his morning runs and workouts in the gym. And he told me, he pulled me aside, said, "Hey man, thank you for pushing me, bro. I appreciate that." And that tells you the bond and relationship that we have.
That's really cool. That's really, really cool. So, obviously, you're a current world champion now, which is just amazing. I'm sure you could settle now and be, world champion. Brilliant. But what else do you hope to achieve in your career?
I would love to have that unification with Oscar Valdez. That's 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 a big fight, and it's a dream to be a unified world champion. And not just that, that fight will potentially put us up for the lineal world title as well. So I mean, when I look at guys that I grew up watching, and even the guys now, like I said again, Tyson Fury and others who have the lineal title around their waist, that's something that I want. I look at boxing is very difficult today in terms of with all the sanctioning, dealing with the sanctioning body. So
The politics.
trying to become undisputed is a very hard task. So I look at it, if I can just become a unified champion and a lineal champion on top of that, I'm happy. I'll be happy with that. So that's one of my goals, and I know a fight with Oscar Valdez would definitely make that dream possible.
Oscar Valdez is such a great guy. Really good guy.
Yeah.
He came on the show last season, and he was saying how his first paycheck, he had no money, he was homeless, and his first paycheck, he bought his dad a house. I mean, that's what people miss with boxing. This is why I do what I do, because the vulnerabilities, the vulnerable side, people don't seem to see. They see this macho walk into a ring, and people forget that these people are real people and have gone through real things, none more so than you. So what have you got to say to your fans out there?
I mean, like I said, I'm just a regular guy. I just happen just to fight, and that's why. But I love keeping that that persona to with people, because it makes people a lot easier to gravitate towards me and just hold a regular conversation. And I just love I love talking with anyone that shows respect, love and respect. That's just me. I mean, you see it just me on social media all the time. Like, I'm always talking with everyone, because I don't have this thing where I feel like I'm better than anybody or I'm bigger than life. No, I just enjoy good people. So I mean, I'm happy that I've gained a lot of love and respect just in Ireland alone after the Frampton fight. So I mean, and I definitely plan on coming out that way again. I was hoping that I could actually have the fight in the UK when we first had announced the date. So because I enjoy that side of the world, because especially with the fight game, like, there's a lot of great people over there that love the sport of boxing, and they give love to combatants such as ourselves. So but that's just a piece of the reason why I am who I am today. It's just good people. So but like I said, for Oscar, we're just regular people at times too. Like, I mean, I just look at my story. I had my ups and downs, like just like anyone else did. So, but I just didn't let it defeat me or get the best of me. So, even with you sharing that with Oscar Valdez, that was touching, because, man, I can just imagine. I mean, like I said, he homeless, and he basically had to literally fight for everything that he has today. And that's why I give respect to guys like Oscar, guys like him, because he's still he carries himself in a real respectful manner.
Yeah.
And he's not he's not brash, he's not cocky, arrogant. He's just a fighter. Even when I seen the build-up with him and Burchell, he was just saying how he has so much more that he wants to accomplish, because he wants to he wants to take care of his grandparents, his grandmother and his family. And I respect that. I respect it to the fullest. So again, much respect to Oscar Valdez, and I wish him well. And for me, I just want to hopefully that we can meet in the ring someday and just give the people a great fight. We don't have to make it. We don't have to make it ugly outside of the ring, and we can be gentlemen. We can be gentlemen throughout the whole build-up about it. It doesn't matter, but I just want to continue giving the people great fights. And again, just as like himself, I'm just here just to provide and take care of my family as well.
Fantastic. Well, I want to say, I knew that when I saw your story that this would be a great chat, and I just want to say a massive thank you for coming on the show, Jamel. You take care, won't you?
Yeah, you too, man. And we'll talk anytime. Anytime you want to sit down and talk again, just reach on out.
My name's Isra Asif, also known as Izzy, former professional cruiserweight boxer, now the founder of GBM. We at Global Boxing Management are working with promoters locally, nationally and internationally to make sure our fighters are put on the best possible shows. GBM, guiding fighters to the top.